Hi guys, the command I'm going to showcase today is Tawnos the Toymaker, a semi-colored 5-mana 3/5 human artificer with the unique ability that allows us to copy any beast or bird spell that we cast. I'm not gonna lie, Tribal is one of my favorite archetypes, especially when it features such a unique commander. Similar to my last video, I'll start off with some rulings time to better explain the commander. Rulings time. At first glance, one can read Tawnos' ability and think copy means tokens, and that would require to give an arm and a leg for doubling season, primal vigor, and power lives. But that is not the case. For reference, we could look at the rules for Reflection of Slitara, which has a similar ability. The rules state: the token that a resolving copy of a permanent spell becomes isn't created. Abilities that refer to a copy being created won't interact with the copy resolving. The second important rule is related to 12 cards that I chose to add, and those include 10 mutate cards and 2 kicker cards. I'll start off with the mutate. Let us look at this tweet from Jess Dunks, who is rules manager at WotC, and I'll paraphrase a bit. When you copy a mutate spell on the stack that targets a vanilla creature, the mutate ability will trigger 3 times. Once when the copy resolves, then twice when the original resolves, because now it has 2 instances of the when this creature mutates triggered ability. For extra qualification, casting a mutate and copying it with Tawnos also means that the copies will melt with the original target, since we can't change targets. Basically this means we forgot an extra body on the battlefield for additional mutate triggers value, and in most cases this trade-off is well worth it. Kicker works similar to casting an instant or sorcery spell. We announce that we are attempting to cast a spell with kicker and that we are going to pay the kicker cost. When we do so, the spell is successfully cast and goes on the stack as a kicked spell, which basically has the kicker effect in its text, and when Tawnos copies it, the copy is also considered kicked, which in turn allows us to get even more value from such spells. Proof of this can be found in the kicker ability rules notes. Rules are fun, right? Right? Anyway, with this in mind, I decided to build a deck mostly around beasts, as most birds are not that good. And even though it is technically tribal, I decided to shy away from my normal choices in tribal decks, because let's be honest, why play Obelisk of Earth when Beastmaster's Ascension is right here staring at you? Green is so OP. The first category is Menagerie, and it includes all the beasts and birds, which are a total of 37. That's right, we are going all out here. Starting off with the mutate creatures, we have Essence Symbiote that provides nice value whenever a creature we control mutates, Trumpeting Gnar, which can make a small army of 3/3 beasts, Migratory Greathorn that can ramp us, Dreamtail Heron that can draw massive amounts of cards, and Auspicious Starix, which directly cheese permanents into the battlefield each time it mutates. Parcel Beast is also here and can ramp us to draw a card, but its effect is limited by the tap cost, and in most cases its value is in having mutate itself. Other mutate creatures provide solid removal, such as Gem Raiser for artifacts and enchantments, Sorter's Demolisher for any non-creature permanent, Pouncing Swarshark to bounce opponent's creatures, and last but not least, Souvenir Snatcher, which can permanently snatch a non-creature artifact. Next are the 2 kicker creatures, in mode Shambler, who can destroy a non-creature permanent, and Crackplate Baylor, which is solid beater that grows even bigger when kicked. It is important to keep in mind that if we copy the mutate spells, we get the mutate trigger 3 times. I'll quickly mention 2 other effects that can do similar thing to our commander, do the Lithoform engine and Reflections of Litara. Coming back to the creatures, we got some more removal options, such as Manglehorn, Trigon Predator, Indrik Stormhowler, and Phyrexian Ingester. Next are some value options: Hydroid Krasis as a solid draw / beater, Palace Familiar, Garruk's Pack Leader, Elder Gargaroth, Cultivator Colossus, Fractusks, which makes tokens and gains life, Rampaging Bellows because no green deck is complete without them, Woodland Bellower, which tutors for a small creature and thins our deck, and Protean Hulk, which replaces itself when it dies with another creature from our library. Other creatures such as Realm Walker, which is also a beast, and Garruk's Horde provide us with the ability to play creatures from the top of our deck. Cards like Cross and Warchief and Spearbreaker Behemoth provide much needed protection for our creatures, and Birds of Paradise can ramp us early or at the very least provide cheap mutate target. Up next are some creatures that can act as finishers. Ulvenwald Oddity, which if transforms provides Trample, Haste and +1/+1 buff to our Menagerie. Blossoming Bog Beast, which gains 2 life on attack and subsequently pumps our army for each point of length that we gain this turn. While this may seem not too great at first, if this creature is coupled with Tawnos, attacking with both original and copy means our creatures get pumped for +8/+8, and also there are some life gain cards in the deck that can synergize further with this ability. Thunderfoot Bailor on the other hand pumps itself and our creatures with +2/+2 and gives them trample as long as we control our commander, while Siege Behemoth lets us allocate our combat damage as though our creatures were unblocked, thus diminishing effect of chump blocking and easily giving the potential to knock someone out. The deck also runs Craterhoof Behemoth, because with this much spice in the deck something needs to add salt as well. Lastly, Terra Stomper and Krakelin serve the purpose of being dub beaters. On the draw front we have some of the mentioned cards such as Hydroid Krasis, Palace Familiar, Realm Walker, Garruk's Horde, Elder Gargaroth, Garruk's Pack Leader and Cultivator Colossus, along with Garruk's Uprising and Kiora Behemoth Beckoner, which draw a card whenever a big creature enters the battlefield, and also provide additional ability on their own. Vizier of the Menagerie and Vivian Monster's Advocate, while not technically draw cards, still provide us with the ability to cast creature spells from the top of our library, which sometimes can be even better. Last are some potential massive card draws in Rishka's Expertise, Garruk Primal Hunter, and Return of the Wild Speaker, which can also act as a solid finisher. Having big creatures and drawing them with ease is fun, but having massive land advantage is even better. At least that's what is said in my Green Mage 101 manual. To help us get there, we have the already mentioned Birds of Paradise and Migratory Greathorn, along with Farseek, Free Visits, and Rampant Growth as 2 mana ramp spells, Cultivate and Kodama Switch at 3 CMC, and Circuitous Route, Explosive Vegetation and Migration Path at 4 CMC. If you have seen any of my videos, you already know I always use protection, I am fond of protection spells, and this yet another commander-centric deck is no exception. Apart from the mentioned Cross and Warchief and Spearbreaker Behemoth, I chose to run Heroic Intervention, Mesium Skin, Lazotep Plating and Tamir Safekeeping. I usually try to shy away from 2 mana protection spells, but those are really good and multi-purpose ones. Besides, we are in green and 1 more mana shouldn't be a problem. The deck also runs 2 board wipes, Inisuri's Predation, which can synergize with some of the cards that we run to also draw massive amounts of cards, and Devastation Tide, which cosplays as a Cyclonic Rift at home. I've already mentioned in one form or another all the cards that can act as a finisher except Overwhelming Stampede. I'm content with 7 as the number of possible finishers, and while they are technically not the strongest possible, I think they are still quite good and also suit the deck's flavor. More notable lands in the mana base are the 2 tribal lands, Secluded Courtyard and Unclaimed Territory, on both of which you should choose Beasts as the preferred creature type, and Castle Garenbrick. The rest of the lands are somewhat standard and expected for a Simic deck. Command Tower, Breeding Pool, Dreamroot Cascade, Hinterland Harbor, Flooded Grove, Rejuvenating Springs, Bark Channel Pathway, Yavimaya Coast and Myriad Landscape. All of this is supplemented by 6 islands and 19 forests for a total of 37 lands. Well, this is my take on Tawnos the Toymaker, and I gotta admit, he was quite fun commander to build around. I usually try to avoid playing green like the plague, and if it wasn't for such an interesting card, frankly I don't know if I could bring myself to. Anyway, I hope that you liked the video and that it will be useful for you when you build your own version. Cheers!